Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Forward Maryland. Today is Tuesday, May 26th, 2020. Reporting to you live from Columbia, Maryland, I'm Bill Woodcock.
And I'm Jason Booms.
And I'd like to start tonight's show before we introduce our guest. Jason has asked for a brief moment to read or to issue a official statement. So Jason, you have the floor.
Oh, thank you, Bill. I appreciate that. And thank you to you and our special guest who we'll be introducing momentarily for this brief indulgence. I did want to say, and this, what I want to say from the outset reflects my personal opinion, has nothing to do with Forward Maryland. Just want to, again, apologize to Dr. Chow Wu for including in today's blog post an incorrect piece of information, identifying him as being with another organization, Kappa. There are apparently two Kappa organizations based in Ellicott City, Maryland, that are involved in some capacity on issues of the day. And I wrongly thought he was with the one Kappa that I knew of, but there are two, and he is with the other one. And so I just wanted to apologize to Dr. Wu again. I did so in the relevant Facebook thread, and I did so, I called him up personally about 30 minutes ago and had a brief conversation. He was very nice, very gracious, and I was just a bit sloppy in my reporting. So that's all I really have to say. No excuses. I messed up that little bit of it, and I apologize. That's it.
Well, thank you, Jason. That's incredibly responsible, and I hope that one serves as an example for any and all community commentators in Howard County. And two, I certainly hope it clears up some confusion that seemed to have been going on some of those wonderful Howard County Facebook groups today.
Hope so.
Well, nothing is ever for sure, but, well, I think this is kind of for sure. And with that, we would like to introduce, and Jason and I being fairly, I don't know, what word do you use, Jason? Old?
I was going to say over the hill, but, either one.
Yeah, washed up maybe, commentators to the Howard County scene. We are very happy to introduce one of the freshest and I dare say more irreverent recent voices to the Howard County scene. And her name is Jenny Solpietro, and you know her as the author of the Howard County Progress Report blog. Jenny, welcome to this evening's show.
Thank you.
And perhaps a good place to start is always the beginning. So perhaps you'd like to share with us a little bit how you got started, who you are, what you're about, and why you decided to jump into this game of blogging.
Sure. So I've been living in Howard County for 15 years, and my kids go to the public schools here. And really last fall, things kind of changed around here when the redistricting process was kicked off, and things got pretty hot around here, because this time was when equity and the concept of educational equity was put into the equation of redistricting. And Howard County had to face some pretty difficult truths about the realities of our school system and of our county. And it was clear from the reactions of many that they preferred to defend the status quo rather than to effect change that would be more in line with progressive values. At the time, I was tweeting an awful lot about the topic. I was also watching folks in Montgomery County going through a similar sort of situation. And I would tweet a lot, and I would get a lot of positive feedback for the things that I would say, and people seemed to like my style. And it didn't take long before I thought to myself, well, maybe I should try to take this beyond 140 characters, take it off Twitter, set up a blog, and then I can really get into these, I can really dive deep into these topics and give them much more of a voice. here we are.
Terrific. And so you've been writing the progress report now for how long?
Only about a month.
Wow.
Only about a month.
Had a lot of impact for 1 month.
Right.
Quite the impactful. Quite the impactful. So, how, I mean, in such a brief time, how do you feel it's gone so far? Has it been about what you expected? I mean, I know you have a Twitter, as we were talking about in the pre-show. I don't use Twitter, but I do lurk. But I do see you get a how should I say, spirited amount of commentary on Facebook. How have you found the experience so far?
It's definitely had its ups and downs. It's not, there's been some blowback, of course, which I expected. I mean, anytime you put yourself out there and put your name on something that people disagree with, you're gonna get feedback that may not be super nice. But I expected that, and it just comes with the territory, so I just don't let it bother me. Aside from that, I'm finding that writing this stuff is really enjoyable. I can say so much more than I could on Twitter, and it gives me time to sit down and really understand the topics rather than just retweeting someone else or, tweeting out something small and ineffective. Really being able to lay these topics out and go into the details and show some research and show some evidence. That sort of thing is a lot more satisfying, and I think it's a lot more effective in getting messages out to people on important topics. And I will say that the post that I did on the District 3 Board of Education debate really had an effect beyond what I had imagined. I thought that I might be influencing some votes there. I had no idea it would turn into a candidate withdrawing from the race. So that was beyond my expectations and quite a surprise. Yeah.
So I guess it's probably my turn to issue forth an apology for the evening, because I said something in a comment on one of your posts that I remembered when somebody said that to me, I took umbrage, which was that your writing style, it was very similar to another blog that turned Howard County upside down for about 6 or 7 years, and that one was called The 53, which I was the author of. And I should have learned. I know you did not take any offense, and I'm glad.
Right.
But and I thank you for that. But I find your writing very original, very insightful. Very much what the average person is thinking, and progressive views as taken as they're not talking points. There's not a bit of that in what I read of your writing. It's here's how we come to this conclusion, and these are these facts. And so I really thank you for that. I think you're off to a really awesome start. So I know this sounds like we're wrapping up the interview and we've only just begun it, but my God, please keep writing as much as you can and have time to do, because it'll only get bigger and better from here.
Thank you. I will do that.
Well, I would, Jenny, like to ask you, well, first, I just want to comment that I really would love to hear about more of the writing process and who your influences are, because I love good writing, I love good writers. And so I'd just like to sort of explore your brain as far as what your thoughts are on that. But first, you did raise the issue of Montgomery County. And I'm curious, there seems to be some very striking similarities in messaging going on between Montgomery County and Howard County, and some very sort of dispiriting developments, such as the entire campaign of Stephen Austin. And I was just curious as to any thoughts you have on what's going on down there.
Sure. So what's interesting about our neighbors in Montgomery County is that they have not even started down the path of redistricting or any boundary adjustments yet. They are only just talking about it. And I can only imagine that because Howard just went through this, I think folks are jumping onto the topic with a lot of passion and fervor, even though it hasn't even begun yet. They're just talking about it. So it's interesting how much heat is on this process already when it's in its infancy. And there are a lot of parallels. I do know that Stephen Austin is, as a candidate, similar to some of the candidates we have here in Howard County, in the sense that he likes to champion the idea of neighborhood schools and air quotes, neighborhood schools, and things of that nature. And he's also a very divisive candidate. He tends to be fairly caustic in his interactions with people, and things of that nature. So he's become kind of a central figure in all this. And what's interesting is that he's been a member of the Howard County Neighbors United Facebook group since last fall, because when they kicked off their boundary adjustment discussions, they wanted to collaborate. And in fact, some of the signs that we saw at rallies here in our county were gifted or loaned to the folks in Montgomery County to use for their own rallies. So yeah, there are parallels, and I'm paying attention to what the Montgomery County folks are saying on Twitter, because they have a lot of similarities going on with us. Yeah.
And and I would like to go back to the first part of that. My original first question was, so who are your influences? Who do you like to read?
Oh my gosh. I have, as with all things, including not just pizza, but with music and reading, I have a very bizarre, group of tastes that don't really make much sense. But I like to read mystery novels, but I also like to read memoirs. I really like to read memoirs from people who tell their story, and how events in their lives shaped them. And so when I'm looking for a quick read, I reach for the mystery novels. And if I feel like reading something deeper, I will usually reach for some sort of a memoir.
Any memoir in particular stand out to you that you read recently?
Oh my gosh, I've read so many. I recently read Fight Like a Girl, by Kate Germano, who was she was a leader in the Marine Corps, and she was assigned to the women's unit at Parris Island where they do their boot camp. And her memoir was very interesting, because when she got down there, she saw a lot of disparities in how expectations were laid out for men versus women as far as the recruits and their training and things like that. And she got in there and she really wanted to affect change. She wanted to show the women recruits that they could do just as much as the men could, that they could perform as well as the men could, because she felt that if she raised the expectations, they would rise to the occasion. And she really wanted to get them more respect in the recruit depot. And so it was a fascinating read, and unfortunately, in the end, she was dismissed from her position, even though she had been successful in increasing the scores that the women were achieving in various physical and other aptitudes. And it was a kind of a bum ending to a really great story. But I follow her on Twitter, and she often has a lot of interesting progressive topics that she tweets about, and so I really enjoy the things she has to say, and that was a memoir that stuck with me.
Fantastic. And if you don't mind, I'll just interject with my third question. But going back from the writers that you enjoy back to sort of to you, what is your process? Do you write at a particular time of day? What sort of inspires you to come up with the topics that you address? Is it the zesty topicality, as some would say, of a particular issue, or is it other things that sort of strike you as I need to talk about this?
It's yes, and it's all of that. So as far as topics goes, oftentimes I will think of something on my own that I really want to talk about, and I will put that out there. Sometimes I will have folks point me in the direction of, hey, here's a topic that you may not have been aware of. Sometimes I will go ahead and tackle it, and sometimes I won't. There are a lot of topics that I will be upfront saying, this is not my wheelhouse and I need more information. I just don't feel qualified to write about this. Other things I would like to learn, and so I will go and do some reading and reach out to people that I know and find out more, and then write a topic. So sometimes it's other people's ideas that they make suggestions, and other times it's just what I feel like writing about. But I didn't want it to be just me putting my own thoughts out there. I kind of wanted I wanted other people to make suggestions and say, hey, this is an angle you might not have thought of that you might want to put out there. As far as when I write, so the blog is only a month old, so we were well into the coronavirus pandemic when I started this blog. I am quite thankful that due to the CARES Act, I am at home right now and have been for several weeks. I was still working in an essential capacity initially, but then when the CARES Act was passed, I was able to get some relief from work. So even though I am doing online learning with my kids, I don't recommend it. It is way harder than I ever thought it would be. Hats off to our teachers for everything that they're doing. But it's hard to find a solid time of day to write. So I will write in drips and draps, just a little here, a little there. You know, if one of the kids needs help with their school, you know, I'll have to set it down and go work with them for a while and then come back to it. So sometimes there are gaps between posts simply because it might be a really busy couple of days with parenting and teaching and all that kind of stuff. But so I just write when I can. And if I find that I don't have a lot of time to write a full post, I'll just tweet.
Awesome.
And I don't think any of the three of us have banner ads or sponsors as of yet. So, but you know, but something to think of for the future.
Right.
So let me ask you the first cousin of Jason's question. Writers who influence you, because from process, I'm very intrigued by your writing style and also by the eye with which you look upon this fine community. So I'll ask the first question first, which is what I mean, are there writers who have influenced you? Are there any that you're consciously emulating or writing in the style of? But who are some of your favorites?
Well, I don't have any specific writers that have influenced me, and I'm definitely not emulating anyone. I enjoyed writing as a kid when I was in school, and I would often just voluntarily in my free time, I would write short stories and things of that nature. I enjoyed projects in school where you might have to write a play, or you might have to write an essay or a poem. I kind of liked that sort of thing and often got a lot of good feedback for it. Over the years, as an adult, I haven't really had an outlet for writing. It's something that I enjoy, but I never really had an outlet for it. I read a lot, but I don't write a lot. But I will often spend time formulating thoughts. As I'm reading things or as I'm pondering things, I will often think of thoughts, and I will think about how I would voice them if I were writing about them. And so that's really what I do with my blog now, is that those thoughts that I have been turning over and over and over in my mind are coming out on the screen now. And I can't say that it's any specific style or any person who's influenced it, but I definitely like sarcasm, irreverence. I try to keep it clean on the blog as much as I can. Anybody who's been to my Twitter account knows that it's a different story over there, but hope y'all don't mind, but it's yeah, that's really it.
So I mean, you lived in Howard County for a little bit. I mean, 15 years is a good amount of time. What I mean, what
Oh goodness.
Yeah.
You with us, Bill?
is
I'm going to venture to guess is you with us? Maybe his thoughts or top line thoughts on the Howard County experience. What you think about the community? Am I on the right path, Bill?
well, yes, and so here is the thing, because and mention, Jason, your questions about Montgomery County. There was the Jenny, and I don't know if you saw it, but back in, oh my God, I think it was 2019, late in that year, there was an article in the New York Times about these suburban school districts and how there are efforts, and these are concerted efforts by people to turn back the school districts, to keep schools segregated or to resegregate schools. And so Howard County, at least I guess my premise is not immune from doing it stupid. But that my question is, how do you, yeah, I mean, what Jason encapsulated, how do you see this place? Is it the land of milk and honey? Is it the land of missed opportunities? Is it the shining city on the hill? Or choose your own metaphor?
There are many metaphors to choose from. Howard County is vastly different from what I grew up in. I am from a tiny town on the Eastern Shore, the lower Eastern Shore of Maryland. I went to a set of schools that don't score so great on niche.com. I ended up going to school at UMBC as an undergrad, and that is a very diverse school. And where I grew up was not. And UMBC was a great place to be. It was a great place to go to school. And then I graduated and I moved out to Montgomery County. I lived there for a few years, and Montgomery was very, very crowded, and the traffic was horrible. I enjoyed the place where I lived, but it quickly became just too much it just became too much. And so I moved to Howard County because Howard County at the time, back in 2005, kind of looked like Fargo in comparison to Montgomery County. It was a slower pace, it was less crowded, there was more open space, and it just seemed like it was a bit of a quieter place to be than Montgomery County, which was just bustling and crowded and trafficy, and it was hard. And since I've been here, I've recognized that Howard has a lot of great things going on. We've got good schools, we've got a diverse population, we have a lot of amenities, and we have a lot of opportunity here. I can't say that the county is perfect because no place on earth is, but there are always improvements to be made. But right now, I feel that this is a good place to live. It has a lot of great things going on that other counties don't have. And I'm quite happy to be here.
That's awesome.
I'm not planning on going anywhere.
Good, don't be. And incidentally, did I blink out for about 30 seconds?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, well, yeah, I lost the connection, so bravo to both of you for soldiering on. So, well, I had another question, but I'm going to defer to my my tag team partner.
Well, I'll yield the remainder of my time back to you, Bill, but I just want to say I did have a very similar experience as far as moving from Montgomery County. where I lived in the lovely hamlet of Kensington.
Yes.
And yeah, a little bit of traffic at the crossroads of Connecticut and everything else.
Yeah.
But that was my experience. Moving to Howard County, especially when I did, and there was decidedly a bit more open space still around the mall. As the saying goes, orange groves as far as the eye could see. But it didn't nonetheless take me back to more of a rural-ish feel while still being suburban. So it seemed like a much better fit than Montgomery County.
Right. Agreed.
So the famous District 3 campaign post.
Right.
The John Alfeo eventually endeth his campaign post. Not asking you to divulge any sources, if indeed there were any, but how did that come about? Because that was quite well done, and I'm sure there was not the intent, and also, I mean, to be fair, I mean, well, I'll speak for myself. I know I've said a fool thing on Facebook a time or two, but but nothing ever like that, because it's not in my heart. So how did that how did you wind up finding all that stuff?
Well, I was aware, I had heard through the grapevine that he had certain views toward Muslims. I was mildly, vaguely aware of that when he decided to run for office. But this spring, other folks had brought to light some of the content, some of the actual content from his Facebook page, because it was all still there. It was, a lot of it was public. Some of it was folks that had saved some things that they thought were concerning. And so when I started to write the post, just like I did with the other district debates, I tried to dig into each person and check their campaign website, check out their Facebook page, see what they're all about. And so when I did this for District 3, I knew that I needed to bring these memes to light, because they are, inappropriate is the mildest term that you could use for that. And so I gathered up as many memes as were still visible on his Facebook page, because the last thing I wanted to do was, I did not want to post anything that I had not seen with my own eyes or captured with my own clicks. I don't want people feeding me stuff for me to post that may have come from a personal page or a private group or anything like that. I want to be able to post things that people can see for themselves. So I gathered up what I could find on his Facebook page, and I just laid it out there. And the more memes I gathered, the more horrified I got. And I started to think, I had already watched the debate, but I had stopped to think, is there even any point in talking about his views when he really clearly doesn't belong on the Board of Education in our county? And I thought, no, there's really not. And so I wrote the post that way. I said, I'm not even going to talk about his answers. I'm just going to put these memes out here. This is what he's posted. They're public. You can see for yourself. Here they are. And other people had talked about them before, so I wasn't expecting such a strong reaction, because this was not new to a lot of people. But I put it out there, and it grabbed the attention of a number of Muslim advocacy groups in the county, and it had an impact on them, which I'm not surprised it did. And I'm really sorry that they had to see all that. But I think the end result was just. I just don't think that he belonged on the Board of Education. It sounded like he may not. It sounded like he may have had some experiences in the military that may have shaped some of his views. And I don't want to bring down a person for something like that. But for me, the intent was simply, I just don't think this man belongs on the Board of Education.
Well, and it was very well done. And it certainly tinged off, I would say, a chain reaction of events, none of which for which you were responsible.
Right.
These were things that just happened.
Right.
But the other question I have, and is, the little bit of time that I've known you, at least. I can't really say that we know each other that much because we haven't even met yet. That'll happen one day.
Right.
But let me see. You are lounging with your feet up in Ellicott City, overlooking a golf course, thinking about what blog to write. I believe you have been linked in, as Jason and I have, in various venues, as part of the vast left-wing network who supports Calvin Ball above all else. Just another one of the liberals spewing division in our county, and out of touch with the good, solid, working people of Howard County, the small business owners and such. What when you see those sorts of things, what's your reaction?
I just kind of chuckle because a lot of the things that people say are not true. I don't live on a golf course. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but I don't. And anybody in Howard County could write a blog if they wanted to, if they were so inclined. They could make a blog about any topic, any political leaning, anything, if they so choose. I chose to start a blog to promote progressive values because that's what I believe in. And a lot of folks don't like that very much, and that's to be expected. And so, of course, that means they're going to say things. They're going to look for ways to discredit. They're going to look for ways that they can poke. That's just what they do. And I take comfort in knowing that the folks who really know me know what I'm about. They know who I am. They know who I'm not. And they recognize that a lot of these loud voices that like to say things that aren't true tend to have a fairly small audience. So.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I just wish you well for that day where someone creates a meme about you. That's always a fun experience.
It's coming.
When you get your head posted on, an MS-13 apparently guy's body, which granted I am ripped. I can understand there'd be some confusion, but yeah, people have to have a lot of fun in their spare time.
They did get the chest tattoo accurate, though.
They did. I was shocked. That was really good. But I did have one follow-up question on District 3. No ink there. Now, understanding, going back to Mr. Alfeo, he's a public figure, absolutely fair game. He got what he deserved. I was curious, the second you heard that he announced he was dropping out of the race, how did you feel?
I felt a bit of satisfaction because, like I said, I don't think that someone who sees fit to post content like that belongs on the Board of Education that represents 59,000 students, many of whom belong to the groups that he was denigrating with his posts. So I felt a small bit of satisfaction. I actually did feel a twinge of guilt because I thought to myself, his candidacy is over now because of me. Here's a guy who was just minding his own business, wants to run for the Board of Education. But then I got to thinking about it, and I don't think that he's a bad person necessarily because I don't know the guy, and I'm not in a position to judge him as a good or bad person. I don't know how he was shaped to have the views that he has. So I can't speak to that. But what I can speak to is I know what I saw. It was hurtful and inappropriate, and it scared a lot of people. So anyway, I felt a little bit of guilt, but I also remembered that he just doesn't belong on the Board of Education. So I think that was okay. Yeah.
It's always fascinating to just, knowing that words have an impact.
Yes.
And making a difference, and just thinking about, the totality of, well, how am I impacting people? That sometimes, yeah, there can be situations where you can feel a certain amount, I guess maybe of just basic human decency of sympathy, but nonetheless you go back to, well, wait a minute, why are we even in this situation in the first place? Oh, it's because of the hateful things.
Right.
So, I understand.
I would not have wanted him to, I would not have wanted his job or his family or anything else to be impacted. All I wanted was to bring to light his suitability as a candidate for the Board of Education.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So you have done all these things in a month that have had great impact. Do you have a thought of like, oh my God, in 3 years, what could I be doing with this thing, or a year, or, is there a long-term plan for your bloggy presence?
There is not a long-term plan, and to be honest, it's interesting that because as I said before, I started this at a time when we were fully engulfed in coronavirus pandemic quarantining. So I have a feeling that once I return to work, it may be more difficult to find the time to write. The posts may become fewer and farther between. I hope not, but I will do the best that I can. So it's hard to say during the weird year that we're all having. It's really hard to say what this blog will look like in even just 6 weeks, let alone 3 years. If I had my way, I would just continue to write. I would continue to make a difference. Hopefully I would get more readers, more followers. Hopefully I would learn a heck of a lot more about the topics affecting the county. Every post that I write, I learn a little bit more. And then in 3 years, I would simply be able to say I've been blogging for 3 years and I have a significant audience and maybe I've affected some change. Yeah.
And Jenny, how can people reach you on your blog? This is your time now for shameless self-promotion.
Right. Well, you can find me on Twitter, either by searching for my name or you can search for HOCO Progress Report. The blog itself is at hocoprogressreport.com. I'm also on Facebook, meaning the blog is on Facebook. And if you search for Howard County Progress Report, you will find it. Generally speaking, the tweeting that goes on the Howard County Progress Report Twitter account is going to be posting links to the blog, recent posts, maybe some commentary on things that are going on currently. My personal Twitter is about a whole host of other things. So it just depends on which flavor you want and how much language you can tolerate.
How much pineapple goes on that pizza?
Exactly.
So, Jason, do you have anything?
No, I think that's it for me right now.
Jenny, thank you for being a terrific guest. I'm really glad we were able to do this, and please consider coming on again. We'd love to talk with you more.
Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it, and I'm glad that you like the blog.
Good, thank you. Jason, as always, a pleasure, sir. You're feeling better now after your statement.
I'm feeling much better. Only have to do one apology in the last 6 years of writing the blog. I guess I'm doing okay in that regard, but we'll see what tomorrow holds.
Well, tomorrow's another day. And Thursday will be another day for this fine podcast production as Jason and I welcome former District 3 Howard County Council candidate Harry Hogdu for a discussion of spending priorities in Howard County, various forms of taxation, development projects, and a host of other things. We may go till Saturday. So until then, for Jason Booms, I'm Bill Woodcock. You have been listening or watching to Forward Maryland. Have a great day, everybody. Take care.